Please close that.
I want to watch
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you got to sit down over there. Okay.
it. Is that going to make you feel weird if I
Nah, it's fine. It's all good.
fine?
I'm already live, but it's okay. I'll edit this
Oh
out
my
later.
God.
So, okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 14th night of Tuesdays for the Poetry. I'm your poet in residence, Gary Dale Burns, and we'll be reading poems for from the year to 2012, 18 poems. It's June 13th, 2023. Let's do this. We're celebrating 25 years of continued practice of writing poetry. Have any of you done something consecutively for 25 years? Probably not. So here we go. The first poem is called, I have it written down in here as a gridded sphere, but I think it goes by another title. A lot of the poems that we'll hear this evening are actually part of a larger collection, an unpublished manuscript I have called Hugh Melody and Other Voices. So some of these are the original versions. They've been edited to some degree before the manuscript was fully assembled. Sorry, got updates happen on the computer. Okay. So a gridded sphere. Declaring all your honesty in a primal scream, wailing never on bent knees. Proud fears stand from high chairs. Mice and spiders scurry under. Distance lodging degree as in squalid love affairs. Encapsulate the rational in a multi-vicious pill. Liver bloated at bar stools. You lift off hot balloon. Megaphone screeching above. A gridded sphere. Gird with fools, no more foolish than your doom. How dark, how else it is, with the spider and the mouse, towering buttresses against shame and the enlightenment of vice. Clear all recent history, outgrown stomach digesting, down comes your sour vacancy. January 7th, 2012. Next poem is short. Perfume, cigarette, are snares of supplication for the little death. Next poem's called In Our Habits. Again, all the titles in the volume I'm reading from, there, some of them are in quotation marks because I just wasn't sure what to title them. These are really new forms at the time. Again, poems tonight from the year 2012, my graduating year from my undergrad, Portland State University, and from the age 26 to 27. Thank you for the Pleiades, sieve for the breath that we need to live, water, rain, water, ice, and snow, much obliged to always know whether cast out or christened. You preserve, divulge, and listen. May I listen while this wind is whipping my finger joints violet. Damn you. Making a fist is painful. My handkerchief is chock full. Sink puddle, black ice on blizzard. I forsake all things, wizard, casting weather violently. Forgive me, Lord, forgive me. The dippers pour upon me. To love you or cold is unequal to sun, to stars, to people. Much ado about one thing in our habits. We are bound to baptism's dichotomy. So may you speak a newborn litany and rose my vessel red and unwavering. Also from January 2012. Another one from the first month of the end of the world. This one's called 20th, 21st Century Western. So many thoughts in so many heads, coughing and smoke in the dim and yellow parlor lights. Ever-setting suns, grim and gripping, never-ending dusk, faces of the gun, tossing back bourbon. What we didn't need to do, turn down and away in the religion of card games. Can't turn 'em over, can't fold. What we do and do and do, but hey, that's the cold of a warming world. The next poem is about something. It's a moment from my childhood where I used to construct these really tiny paper airplanes. I don't really think when I say tiny, I literally mean thumb size paper airplanes. And I'd make these paper airplanes and I'd make a little base for them to land on. And it was a whole like microcosm. And it was probably from watching too much Star Trek or something. But imagining this idea that, in the future, we'll be on little spaceships and I could be a god-sized person with these little spaceships that are millimeters wide. That's the name of this poem, millimeters wide. Millimeters wide, I pinch the paper starships, crane of hand to guide my tiny rocketry. Pursing lips and pushing air through my baby teeth. Bedroom of bare walls echoing, a child couched by carpet. Years later, I'd handle the gumball-sized fleet in a candy box with old teeth, pour out a scrapyard of ink and pulp, ripped wings of insignias and names invented for my crews, long dead and yet so named, never ceasing to be. Palm-sized space of dog fights, while the distant barking through a window screen, patrol sirens panning in and out of the interstate static, evening star rising above the valley, I had conceived alone a preservation of sanity from my propagation of fantasy. The next poem is called Three Journeys. Is actually for Robert Genova. If you're watching tonight, Robert, it's for you. Used to work with him at Stepping Stone Cafe in Portland. Not without a torn shoulder, such infamous tragedy. Tall and gaunt composure, then crippled black and showing where to hack off an arm at scapula and humerus to make a soldier mourning. An effort slight size bellowed dryly. Capital and base lose meaning. The order in a casual wave sacrifices one column for another square ballet and leaves autumn in St. Petersburg as the pungent procession begins to decay. Slap hand, slather heat, threading coarse rope on knee, and twist causes together on the staff of burning, votive slavery with each foot warding off steps to retrace, blazing a trail to the bald peak, absent of all chatter. That one was published in Strandzig, which I have a copy of here. So next year's poems will all have been written while I lived in New York City, and so Strandzig. This was a zine of work by workers at Strand Bookstore, where I worked in New York City for 3 years, largest independent bookstore on the East Coast. So that one got into Strandzig, was collected there. This one doesn't have a title, so this is untitled. Oblation, ovation, standing up like a helium balloon on a heavy tank. Nipple, ripples, passing over a surface of depth on a bed of silt. Okay, now we have At the Base Camp. a lot of climbing metaphors. I've never been mountaineering. I've never climbed a mountain, but I think I was reading the book Mount Analog by Rene Dalmal, and then thinking about my dad. He was recently at this time in the ICU and intensive care unit, and didn't know if he was going to make it through. One of a few times that happened until his death. So here's at the base camp. Father, you climb no more. Your legs meet bronze and clay, feet like the old man of Crete, and are bound by clinical chores. One broken toed foot in a black boot is 8 pounds pulling on your height, changing your gait and stature. At the base camp of convalescence, walkers rest at the blue fires, wherein only faces dance aplenty. Beneath a blight of old stars, here is more death than healing. Fate hangs on you, Father, and off your tongue, down your front. Dear repeated adornments of dross are fixed to your arm with pitchy pride, waving like the summit flags afar, and in a sun's glare you are this mountain. For I have sat in the shade of your giant frame with terrible awe, huddled in a bivouac of pain. Your river tears, your riven tears now salt this forgiving with the taste of cravings purged. A light steam from the snow, small cloud of disremembering. That last disremembering, that word taken from Gerard Manley Hopkins. Okay, so some haiku here. Two haikus. A gulp of sake sends shivers up my tall spine. The golden bug flies. The second. First, poppy in Rome. To bevel the lie, the cure. Nobody? My body. Okay, so the next poem is written in terzarima, an anglicized version of terzarima. Terzarima is the form of poetry that Dante wrote the Divine Comedy in. It alternates A B C B C D and so on, and it kind of what happens is that they intertwine. So you have one rhyme scheme that then intertwines into another, and then another, and then another. So here's my attempt at that for some lines. This one's called Happily as No Nightfall Ages Her. Left you without beginning, the turn of friendly eyes, ready to hear a soul befriending some rumor of short lies, half true and only gesture, as all truths do ever prize, the words over the messenger. With the coming night your body shakes off a lonely sepulchre, where your shadow, when the sun is cloudy, dances away in the instants to become a single psalmody. I see and hear that constant rhythm moving, or whether I am still. We did not sing of a holy present, but we pushed a plowman's till, worked and gave our labors up, joined with a common wheel. Every week and every week, another cup of sweet desire filled to the brim. We slowly savored, sipping, then drank it up. Then you sang on the stage's rim, on my name day as no one else did. Then I took your supple limbs, hand in hand, we danced like kids. Now I cannot sing but to vanquish a sailor's knot, loose to bid our friendship off on a heart's wish. Effortlessly you set a fond thought under my brow, and served a dish of giving that the taker ought not keep if he has any honor. But against love's fealty my reason fought, against my admiring eye upon her, which shall no more hold its coveting stare. Wine spoke, making every second longer, the words my heart delivered there, as a young man might do, sailing forth, trembling softly, quite bare, not knowing if his song flew before you, an abhorrent thing, cradling quietly, some hope was left, and some you had left for me. Okay, so we got another published poem next. This one was in Cavalcade. I have these old, this Cavalcade 3. So this was, the next poem was published in Cavalcade 3, edited and published by my old friend Cutter. Maybe you're watching Cutter. He lives in Kentucky now, where he's from, but I met him in Oregon. So this one's called The Temple of the Dumbbells. You know, dumbbells, pulling weights. The temple of the dumbbells on the plateaus of the first men, ringing while the war explodes, delightful reflections on the smile. Shivering behind a supernova, parade of mock paradiso, instruction permitting vision. The dream lived by the body, unknown if the intellect left it, arising when my chin was lifted, passing through a waterfall of light, streaming above but below my toes, cavalcade of bee-hooved cadence, numb to speaking what I know. The altarpiece creaks open, cinnamon Jesus in resplendent gold, crowning achievement of holy foothold, housing the 12 fruits, his labor, sleeping as solid stone red plums, tirade of stock epithets forsaken before the crucifixion. So little Christianity there at the end. I, growing up in a Christian church, there's that one point in the Gospels that always sort of fascinates me, which is when Jesus goes to the Garden of Gethsemane and he prays to God and he says, may this weight be taken off of me. So there's sort of a doubt about his role in the cosmic scheme of things, and then but then he does sort of take on this pain. There's this idea that he like feels what the pain of the world is, and it's really graphic. Like it says it like he like bleeds out of every pore of his body. I can't even imagine what that would be like to just in that instant. But then when he, so he has this really profound experience, and then he leaves the garden, and he had asked the apostles to watch. He says, "Can you keep guard while I, go and pray, and I talk to my Father and." And this is really serious. He goes back to the apostles, and like they're just all asleep. They're all asleep. Why couldn't they keep watch? Why aren't we keeping watch for Jesus? Sad. So second terzerima that I have here, night or recently after. Night or recently after. This is broken up into two different parts. First part, 1. For you in the red candlelight were brought up by a dipping ladle sun, miniature star of spherical night, pouring out eternity as at Capernaum. Upon me broke a vernal wave of the woman you had now become, clanging bell in your larynx, your stave. I did not scatter as starlings from broken loaves, but drank beside you within the enclave, near tree-like men of sycamore groves, painted bark, bulging trunks, glazed knots, bound to drink on in neon-lit droves. We rode away with our whiskey thoughts. I was the escort and you the courted, permitted to enter to take small draughts, smell your hair on the balcony supported by caryatids of latent lust, the musk of East Washington enfolded round your nape and down your bust. I followed that trail through underbrush to raise up embers glowing to thrust. 2. Morning watercolors dripped flush, above the smoky steam licking off our skin unstuck from an equal crush. The midsummer night squeezed enough from us, and so a thin pulp strained, this friendship bare now but for a tuft of hair below our groans forced feigned. In days of humid air, immobile trees, savanna lawns, but these firs unchanged. We knew some things stay, matted memories, niches keeping wind, and waters away. When again I visit you with niceties, the shadowy gaze in your eyes stay, because my fire went from blaze to cinders. Agreed, however, to pick apples this day, scour branches, claw at spurs with strangers, our aprons sappy, our work as a gift. The fruit another bell, and we, the shakers, sensing the pull as our navels lift and stretch, but I feel no strong yearning, harvest done, sober, to join our steps in turning. Just a few more here. This one's called Sense and Meaning. My anger oozes from the confusion, from a lack of structure I envision, with my mind as in presence, the same enough to flush my face with shame, which sings before my anger as a rhyme. Does my this is so confusing what I did here. Okay. What? Okay. Without the implicit danger of time sacrificing for entertainment that cold hearts play, does my blame grow with dishonest silence? I do find as Blake that shame is pride's garment. A pair of eyes pierces that judge to sentence my choices to the slave energy of true violence. Lady of laughter, my jaws are in vices. That's a very, yeah, I have a lot of notes on this one. That's a very early version of something that is completely different in my manuscript. But that's what this is for. You know, you're hearing the raw, original stuff. Okay, with Bernard. Trafalgar Square, French flags in the air, their culture size. Enthusiasm as pale as it is transparent, a teacher at my side, circumscribing St. Paul's dome, an empire's prowess subdued, and there it is, Millennial Bridge, marking little more than passage over the Thames. Bernard knows the way of water, the canals of old London. We float atop tall buses, the egg, the wheel, the tower, laid out on our checkered tabletop. Tarot cards steaming in the broth of the World Cup. England on a summer night, charity of fire near Chaplin's Empire, years before the Hackney riots. Okay, just a few more left. And then we're done for the night. So, buddings of love. In my heart grows a root strong with this compassion rose. The soil thick holds great water that moons pull and push down veins, up stems, all flushing green. Till then, buddings of love. What limits are breached as the plant strove above, needle-like, lanced through my earthenware, stitches taut, the nestled root, binding firm the rose to unfurl, as thorns dig into my skin. And I am weary, asking for absent empathy, that in so sweet a pain my weakness strengthens me. Compassion rose, release me never to smell another flower with this nose. Next, we've got a prose poem. I haven't written too many of these. We've got a prose poem, and then we've got a haiku, and that's it for the night. I study your face without searching. My mouth falls dumb to its asking. Your blue irises alight my reflection. Two eyes, once foolish and also awakened. Beneath your pools of pupils, I disappear, and one remains. Threading the narrows through the bottom of your inner lock, darkness is sown to desire. And deeper I go and further on, falling twists upon the center, and sinking, I seem to reach surface. I tug at the clothes I am wearing. My skin underneath is for you to make drapings. Your hands touch my scars and their stories. Thrice we become, two lines we lace, and neither is lacking. Grant, granted, the answers are leavened. Act upon act, our vessels are shaken, but the new world holds open our eyelids. You laugh, palms open, waving. And the last one here is that I actually wrote it before the last two poems, but I must have written it someplace else. Again, I've explained in other videos I used to have this bad habit of writing things on small pieces of paper. I put them in pockets, and then I pull them out and discover them later. Luckily, I'm done with that. So, suffering the witch, choice hewn in half between my desire and damning. We'll pick up again next Tuesday with 17 poems. Tonight was 18 poems. 17 poems from 2013 is my last full year in Portland, and then in 2013, but right before Thanksgiving, my partner and I move across the country, and we end up in New York City, and in the East Village. So next time we'll sort of hear the last poems that I wrote in Portland, and then the first ones in New York, and yeah, more changes, continual changes with the forms, more moving towards the manuscript, Hugh Melody and other voices or other poems. I think I used to call it other voices, but anyways, so I edited out in hearing my songs that are at least a better quality and better voice. I have a Bandcamp. If you go to garydale.bandcamp.com, that's I have 6 songs, 6 singles, that I released around this time that I was writing these poems, and yeah, and that's really the only digital record of my songs. All the rest are on cassette tapes that went every which way. And if you have one of them, you're lucky. That's a rarity. One birthday, I said, "Hey, does anyone have these? Could anyone make a copy of these, a cassette tape copy, and send to me?" Crickets. So they're out there somewhere. But be well, everyone. Read poetry. Don't let this be the only poetry you're exposed to. Please, there's so much great stuff out there. And I'll have a book recommendation. Oh, actually, yeah, I do for tonight. Three Stones Make a Wall. Eric H. Klein, The Story of Archaeology. Really fun, especially if you like Indiana Jones or are raised up on it like I was. Not a plug for Indiana Jones, even though there's a new one coming out this summer. Okay, so join us next week, next Tuesday at 8 p.m. for the 15th night of Tuesdays for the Poetry. After next week, we've only got 10 more nights. Tell all your friends, tune on in, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Tuesdays for the Poetry with me, Gary Del Burns. Take care. Bye.